spite of all those privileges and luxury, she chose a difficult path, a path that leads to a beautiful destination. A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. And today we have the perfect example with us to justify this statement. She's someone who not only chose this difficult and demanding examination, but also worked day and night and cracked it in the very first attempt itself. Hi everyone. Yes, you guessed it right. It's the one and only IAS Anjali Birla Mam. Hello, ma'am. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on your commendable achievement. It's an absolute honor to have you here, and I'm sure everyone is as excited as me to learn about you.
Thank you. Should I begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. First of all, I would like to thank Shivaji College Student Union for inviting me and conducting this seminar. Almost 257 participants, college students have joined in, and I am very excited to be interacting with all of you. Consider me as your friend because I am of the same age group. I've passed out recently. I've cleared the exam recently. So this interaction should not be a kind of a lecture interaction where I'm lecturing you about something, but it should be an interaction wherein you can ask me anything about all of your doubts which you are having related to the civil services examination and to the preparation. And if even if you feel lost, you want some motivation, anything, it could be just anything. And I would try that this conversation that we have should not be monotonous or a monologue, but more of a conversation between two people. And but before opening the stage to your questions and to answering them, I would like to say two things. I get a message on the chat box that I am there is unable to hear voice. Is that a problem which everybody else is facing as well?
No, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. So before throwing the floor open to each one of you to ask questions, because I think that's the most effective way we can interact, because I may just tell you all the things, but what questions you must be having are very, you would be able to better elevate the process and make it easy for you if I address your questions. So, but before that, I would like to say that there are two things that I would want to say. First is, if your why of civil services is clear, that why you want to do, why do you want to become a part of civil services, then your how gets even more clearer. What I mean by this is that you should have a driving force, that why do you want to become a civil servant. It should be as easy as like there is good job, it's comfortable service, but there is more to civil services. Because if you become a part of civil services, you become a group A officer, you become topmost officer of the country, then you're also being employed by the largest employer of the country, by the government. No private sector company is as huge as the government. And no private sector company can give you the avenues, the platform that the government can give. And no private company can give you the reach that the government can give. So it's the why that should excite you. It should be the empath in you. It should be the empathetic person in you that should drive you towards civil services. If you compare the salaries, then of course you may get, you are all studying from a good college of DU, you may get a better package. But it's also about the experience. It's also about impacting lives. It's also about making a change in other people's life. And that avenue, that reach, civil services is a platform that can give you the best reach. Firstly, you are a field, you are into field, you impact lives into field, people who are interacting with you, you make their lives easy. And then later on you go into policy making, wherein you delve into policy and its nitty-gritties, and how those policies can affect and how those policies can actually benefit people, you are into that decision making process. So in your entire journey as a civil servant, you get to impact lives, you get to interact with the people of the country, and you get to make a change, even though if it's a very small change, but that change is credited under your name, and that should be your driving force. There we have a lot of snobbish civil servants, and I don't think that this country needs any kind of snobbish people anymore in the authority. We need empathetic people, we need people who have an heart, whose heart aches, especially in the time of COVID-19 and the distress that we saw because of second wave. We all felt that how much of an empath is needed right now. There is an officer, Suresh Kakani ji, whom I interacted, who was in charge of the Bombay in the second wave. And when I spoke to him, I could find that there is an empath in him. His heart is aching for the people, for the dying people, for the breathless people. His heart is aching for them. And that is why he could make a difference. And he could push Bombay out of the COVID crisis. So similarly, being a civil servant aspirant, you should have that driving force, that driving empath in you. Secondly, I was very happy to learn that in Shivaji College, there is a Disha Civil Services Society, which you guys have formed. It is very important also because it's important for motivation. It is important for group studying also. It keeps the mood light because you're all in college right now. So you don't have to give the exam just next year. Some people must be in first year of their college and they have approx 3 years or 2 years before giving their actual exam. So this is a very good move, a very good initiative, and I congratulate you on it. The second thing before we move on to the question and answers round is that you are going to be the face of the government. You are going to be the government. So as a civil servant aspirant, you should feel the responsibility on you, and you should be excited to feel the responsibility also and to be the face of the government. That's a very big thing in itself that should drive you towards civil services. And if before that, those were the two things that I wanted to say. But lastly, I would want to say that when I was studying, when I was into preparation, then there is always this doubt that we have that there's so many aspirants every year appearing for the exam. Almost 10 lakh people fill the forms of prelims, and at least 6 lakh people give the exams every year, and many of them are repeaters, so they are second attempters or third attempters. So naturally you feel that kind of inhibition, you feel intimidated by the competition. But then you should remember what John F. Kennedy said in a completely different context, but I think it kept in my mind, and those are like 4 words which have touched me and which have kept me going on. But like, if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Keep these words ringing in your mind, that if you would not be there, then it would be a loss of civil services, and it would not be a loss of yours. Make yourself and your personality define to a point where you feel that the civil services and the UPSC needs you more than you need UPSC. May grow yourself, grow your personality, grow your enigma around you, grow your knowledge, grow the empathetic person in you, grow the heart in you, that you feel that civil services would gain if you get into it. With that, I would like to open the field to question answers. You can ask anything about questions about the preparation. I was told that there are some 14, 15 questions around which you would be asking. So either the host would tell that what is the way forward. Should I read the questions which have been sent to me, or if you can unmute someone and someone can talk? I'm open to both.
Ma'am, I'll be speaking the question. So we've collected a bunch of questions from the aspiring civil servants, and we would be privileged if you could please answer them for us. So here we begin with the first question. How can we deal with current affairs? Like, what sources should be taken into consideration while preparing for current affairs?
Okay. So it depends when are you starting the preparation and which is your exam year. I mean, when is the year when you're attempting and sitting for the exam. So supposedly if you are in first year and you have 3 more years to give the exam, then I would say that you should read newspaper. Two newspapers you should read, and you should read some current affairs magazines, such as there is Foreign Affairs, which is good, which gives you an IR perspective, international relations perspective. There is the Karma, there is the Diplomat. All of these are for international perspective, and international relations. And but there are also two newspapers. I found the Hindu and Indian Express one of the best your newspapers. So if you're in first year, I would suggest that all of these should be your sources for current affairs. But I think someone has shared the screen. I'm sorry for being distracted by it. Okay. And but if you just have 1 year before your attempt, before your exam year, then I would suggest that instead of wasting time into reading newspaper, you should read some coaching material, some coaching's current affairs. There is Vision, which releases its monthly current affairs. You could read that. You could test and try what suits you best. Many coaching institutes release their monthly current affairs, and they are very concise. They have very relevant information about each and every topic, and that is a very effective way to do current affairs and to revise it again and again so that you can memorize it. So that's my take on current affairs.
Okay. Ma'am, we have the second question. How to study the economic survey, budget, and ARCC report, and how to use them while writing your answers?
It's very important that you do read them, the budget, economic survey, and ARCC. So what I did for economic survey was so every year 2 volumes of economic survey are released. So one of them has concepts, okay, and the other volume has a lot of stats and figures. So you need to understand what is the economic survey. So okay, let me divide it like this. Like every level of exam, so prelims, mains, and interview, has a different approach. So you need to study material keeping that approach in your mind. So in prelims, they would ask from economic surveys, budget, and ARCC. And to cover that, I would say that coaching materials, they release the summary of the economic survey, which is like only 4 to 5 pages. Budget ki bhi summary they released, which is also very short. It's like 6 to 7 pages, and ARCC summary is also released. So for prelims, read that, memorize that, because in prelims you will have MCQs, and you have to just tick mark them, and you don't have to you don't have to write the concept. So you can do that for prelims, and that's how you can cover for prelims these three reports. Now for mains, I would say that economic survey, as I said, that there are 2 volumes. One is the conceptual volume and the second is the stats volume. So for mains, the stats volume is of no use. So you can keep that aside. The conceptual volume, I would suggest that you read it. If you don't have time and the energy and you don't know how to pick out the relevant stuff for yourself, then since last 2-3 years, the chief economic advisor is releasing videos on economic survey in which he himself explains the concept of economic survey. Do rely on it. There are very short videos. They're just 3 to 4, 5 to 10 minutes videos of each chapter, and they give you a detailed analysis of what the concept that they're trying to sell in that particular chapter. And for budget also, I would highly recommend that you go through the finance minister's speech, which is very important for budget, and the stats that we get it from the same that you have memorized for prelims. Use that for your mains also. The coaching institutes material that I've set for prelims, and rest budget you can keep aside. That much is enough for budget. ARCC reports recommendations, you need to memorize some of those recommendations which you think that can be used. So where these ARCC recommendations can be used? So ARCC is basically telling you how to be a good civil servant. How should you reform civil services, right? Administrative reforms, that is its full form. So for that, it would be useful in your polity 2, GS2, that is in your polity section, ARCC recommendations will be useful, and in your ethics paper, it will be useful. And very rarely it can be useful in your essay. So once you know that these three papers in which ARCC report would be used, you can easily make out in your mind that which are the recommendations that you can write in your mains paper. So this is how you can effectively utilize all the three sources to your advantage. And for interview, they usually don't ask but it depends. Like if your interview is in March and February budget was released, then naturally they will ask you questions from budget. But they are very simplistic questions, very conceptual questions, and you have to answer them very quickly. So they would never say you, ask you in figures or in rupees, how much rupees have been allocated to education sector. But like the year then when I gave my interview, it was very much highlighted that the health budget, that the budget has allocated 137% increment has happened in the health sector. So that point was asked to me in mock interviews, not in the actual interview. So you should see which point is highlighted. Only that much of stats would be asked to you in interview. Otherwise, they don't ask you random figures, so you don't have to carry them to the interview.
Thank you, ma'am. Since you had PCIR as your optional, can you please suggest some books and strategy for the same?
Right. So political science and international relations was my optional because I had the same subject in my honors in my as I was graduating in from DU. But as you all are DU students, we're all aware of the fact how the course is, how it's structured. So I would not say that it gave me a very big hand in selecting PSIR. I was just very much acquainted with the terms and the way the course would flow. Otherwise, it's not important what your college graduation subject is and what your optional is. Now, PSIR, heavily relied. So PSIR is also divided into two papers. I'm just trying to elaborate it more for the freshers. So paper one, we have philosophers and polity, and paper two, we have IR theories and international relations and their dynamics. So for paper one, I heavily relied on Shubhra Ranjan Mam's notes and her classes. I joined her class as well. But if you're not able to join her class, it's completely fine. She only makes you write notes. There is no such dialogue or conversation happening there. So you can easily rely on her notes, which are very extensive for paper one and for paper one. And for paper two also, I relied on that on those notes. But I also relied on the Carvaan, the Foreign Affairs, and these online magazines, the Diplomat, which I'm telling, for international relations. And that I would say plays a very important role. So these two are majorly my sources. I used to re-revise a lot. I did do some basic books which are said of O.P. Guaba and of Global Politics by Andrew Haywood. But I would not say that they had too much of an impact on my preparation. Why? Because as we are all youngsters, we should always remember this. As I am a youngster, I'm saying to you, whatever you can take to the examination hall, only that is relevant. No matter if you study n number of books, but if you cannot remember them at the end of the day, then it makes no use. It is of no use to you. So even though I did read O.P. Guaba and Andrew Haywood, Global Politics, and other books of Andrew Haywood, I still say that they did not have an impact on my preparation. Because at the end of the day, what I did take to the examination was Shubhra Ranjan Mam's notes and these and the notes which I made out of these magazines, current affair magazines, which I'm telling for IR, international relations. And I also took on from editorial only the Hindu, Indian Express, Business Standard, etc. I took on some articles from it and from some opinion pieces from it for the polity sections, for the paper one polity section. So these were majorly my sources which impacted and which I would suggest are needed for PSIR.
Ma'am, to use our time effectively, what and how can we start with our preparation now? Also, as syllabus understanding plays a great role in UPSC, how to go through it.
Right. I totally believe that we need to understand syllabus completely. But you should not rush through everything, okay? You should not feel like आज से हमने पढ़ाई करना शुरू करा है तो आज ही हमें सब कुछ आ जाएगा या आज ही हमें सब कुछ समझ आ जाएगा. It's not possible and it's fine. Take your time. If you are a complete fresher, I would say that for 6, and if you have time in hand, given that you're in second year or in first year or in third year's first sem, then I would say that take your time and read newspapers and some magazines to build your base so that you understand what is going around you, what are the different issues, what are the burning issues, and how is it reported, and everything, that you get a fairly good idea. And after 3-4 months you pick up the syllabus of UPSC, and then that too main syllabus. Okay, so that is a very detailed syllabus by UPSC, and then you try to connect, read the syllabus and then read those sources, read current affairs, etc., and then try to connect the two. Supposedly there is a governance and its issues, and you see that in Indian Express there is a whole section of governance, and there you see that there have been some issues have been highlighted. So then can that be of relevance to your topic, given that if your exam year would be 2 years later? So in that way, try to connect these two, your syllabus and your current affairs sources. Once you're done with it, then you pick up your static books such as Spectrum, Polity के लिए हम लक्ष्मीकांत पढ़ते हैं, etc. So bring on these static books and try to complete the course as early as possible, and re-revise the course, the static course, as many times as possible. I cannot underline the importance of revision enough in this examination, because again I said, what you take to the examination, only that is relevant, and you can only take that much of material into the examination which you keep on revising again and again. So those are my 2 cents about time management. It depends on person to person. No strategy is perfect, or it's not a blueprint which would work for everybody. But for me, what worked for was that I had a schedule. I had given myself the task that I would start from 8 hours per day and then increase it to 10, then to 12, and to 14. Some people do it course wise, that they would complete polity in these many days, etc. But I used to decide the time that I would give 3 hours to polity, 3 hours to economics, 2 hours to current affairs, and this is how my day is going to be like. So that was my strategy to deal with the time management and time schedule. As it could be different for different people, but it did help me to strategize and to make sense that how much can I cover, and to also be consistent that I do have to study for 8 hours no matter what. I used to fall sick. I then also made it a point that if I have to study, I have to study for 8 hours, no matter what happens. So that kind of consistency and dedication could come into me because of the fact that I did schedule my timetable well. So that worked for me.
That's really inspiring, ma'am. Going deep into the previous question, starting the preparation is easy, but to continue it is really tough. Going back to those sheets of notes and revising them again and again seems a tiring and challenging task. What did you do to prepare yourself with more and more revision?
How was I consistent? That's your major question, right?
Oh, no, the question is, how did you manage to revise so many times? Because revision is the key. That's what you said. So how did you manage to revise so many times?
That's because I made very realistic goals. So don't make goals like you can complete Lakshmikant in 5 days. If it is your first time, you would obviously need like 25 days to complete that book because it's a bulky book. So in that way, I was given that you're also taking along one other subject. So I was very realistic with my schedule. I was very realistic with my course. And that is why I had this pre-planned that if I started from August very sincerely. So I only considered that time of my preparation where I was extremely sincere and when I did not miss a day. So August 2018, I started to sit every day for 8 hours, besides the 2.5 hour coaching of PSIR that I was attending. So then I could make sense of things that if I start from August, then these are the static books that I need to cover. And I preferred reading current affair from Vision, as I told you. So these are my static, that is my current affairs source. So then I divided time between the static and the current affair. And then I made a schedule in such a manner that I was able to complete the course static and optional and current affairs of those every month current affairs from starting from June, starting from May, starting from April actually. So starting from April, I could complete everything 2 times before December. So if you're consistent, if you're doing everything daily, then it's very easy for you to do it. Then I made it a point that from January I picked up the test series, because test series are also very important. Again, underlining two things can sail you through: test and revision. So it's very important to test. So I picked up prelims test series from January. I did not study optional after that. I kept it aside. Then I, from January to May, I made sure that I could complete 4 times my static course, and I could give 100 tests at least of different coaching institutes of prelims, so that I'm very well prepared of how the pattern is going to be, and how many questions should I attempt, and what works for me, which is my weak area, which is my strong area, etc. So that I did, and I also re-revised those tests also 3 times before actually sitting for prelims exam. And all of this I did, and I could do all of this because I was very consistent. As I told you, I did not step out of my room. I did not go to any family function, and it's not a big sacrifice. You have a higher aim, you want to achieve something, you want to make yourself something out of yourself, then it's very easy to say bye bye to all of these petty distractions. I gave up my phone, etc. So I was very consistent with studying. Initially I started with 8 hours, as I said, because I was having 2.5 hours coaching. Then I went on to 10 and 11 and 12 and 13, and by the time the exam was approaching, I was almost studying for 14 hours a day. So don't burden yourself with thinking that you need to study 14 hours a day just right now. You're all in college. Please enjoy college. It's a lovely time, even though COVID has taken everything online and the campus feels have been taken away from you. But still, it's a very lovely time to relax and to build yourself as a personality also. So as a person also. So, but keep in mind that you have to do at least 3 hours every day, okay, or 2 hours every day. Or even if you just take out 1 hour, but make sure that it is consistent. That's the whole point. Don't do 1 hour one day and then 10 hours the next day and 0 hours for the whole month. That will make no sense. I have done it. I studied from Ramjas. I was half-heartedly preparing for UPSC since I was in second year of my college. But then I don't even count it in my preparation, because I don't even feel that it was adding up to anything. I only count those months of my preparation where I did not miss even a day of studying, of how much I had decided. So someday, in when I was in second, third year, some days I would study 9 hours. Then some days I would just study for half an hour. So that makes no sense at all. So be consistent, and make a goal which keeps you consistent, which is very realistic goal. So that is how I could re-revise a lot many times, because I was very strict with how that this much time I have to devote into studying.
Ma'am, can you please give us some tips for beginners or first year graduation students and how to maintain the balance between college studies and UPSC preparation?
Yes. So as I've been saying that as you all are in college, so for the first year especially, I in the initially initial speech itself, or the dialogue itself, I said that you can do only two things, that is read newspapers and read some magazines. You can read Yojana, you can read there is India Today's magazine. You can read some fun magazines also, political magazines also. They also do no harm. And keep on reading the UPSC syllabus. Now, I would suggest be realistic. Make a goal that you would study 2 hours or 3 hours daily for UPSC. And beyond that, I think you can have all the time to yourself. You can manage your college studies, you can hang out with your friends, you can chill, you can develop yourself as a person. So do all of that as well. So just make a very, because first year you're just a fresher right now, you would give exam after 3 years, so don't burn yourself out, that when the exam year actually comes, you're so burdened and so burned out that you don't want to do it itself. So take it easy. I definitely think only 2 to 3 hours per day is more than enough. Just read newspapers, be consistent with at least two newspapers, build your language. It's important, whichever medium you're wanting to give the attempt, Hindi or English. It doesn't matter which language you choose, but it does matter that you should have a command over the language, over the terms and terminologies, over the issues that are going around. So keep yourself abreast with all of these issues. Rest, chill, it's fine. Like, you're just in first year. Enjoy DU. DU gives you a lot of time. And I think DU is one of those colleges where you can easily tackle college studying and UPSC, because we all know there's not too much of studying happening in DU. So you should not feel burdened by UPSC at all.
Okay. Ma'am, how to reduce stress during UPSC preparation?
It's very important that you are giving an exam to become an officer. You are becoming for a job, basically. So for me, it was very important that I should stay happy in the entire preparation. And the preparation time only made sense to me if I'm happy, if I am jolly, if I am motivated. So do not do it if you're feeling stressed. Really, it's not worth it. Nothing is worth your stress. Okay. It's said that nobody should take away your peace is priceless. So don't do it if you're feeling stressed. But to tackle stress, you should always feel that you are very much capable, and you are very much you should feel confident about yourself. You should have faith upon yourself. Make a goal, make a realistic schedule, uh, divide your time judiciously. You have a lot of time in your hand right now, because you're all in college, so you can actually plan very judiciously, very intelligently, so that you do not feel bogged down during the exam, because you're well prepared. Give your 200% and you will not feel stressed. You will enjoy the preparation, enjoy this time. Take it as, building yourself, as growing yourself as a person, as a personality. And don't feel stressed. It's not worth the stress.
Thank you, ma'am. Since there's a lot of information put out on the internet, so it's difficult to comprehend which one's the right one to follow. So can you please recommend some reliable platforms to get the right information?
Right. I did rely on Insight on India. So they give 5 MCQs every day for that daily current affair. That is good. Their mains part is also good. The questions and answer format which they give. So Insight on India is a good source. Then sleepy classes, I on YouTube, I relied on them for my economics and environment, and also their lectures on art and culture, NCRT. They were good. So besides, then IS Baba current affairs summary they give, which is mediocre, not that great. You can't rely it on completely. It's not totally relevant also. Just keep your common sense awake. And even after joining the service, while I am doing training right now, I'm a probationer officer. So even during training, it is said to us that everything is doable if you have common sense. So do not lose your common sense. Sharpen it as much as you can. UPSC is not very difficult examination. If you have common sense, if you have faith into yourself, if you're very consistent, then you can crack it. And if I can crack it, then you can crack it. We are all studying, we are all pass out of DU only. I'm pass out of DU, you are into DU. So if I could do it, then might as well you can do it. So I don't think it's as big as a monster as it seems right now to you. So I said, insight on India, IS Baba, but IS Baba, be cautious. Like, not everything is relevant there. You have to pick up whatever is relevant for you, as you can see. And third is sleepy classes. Fourth, Mrunal is also a good source. I did geography from there. It is helpful. So yeah, these four sources are pretty much were my online sources.
Thank you, ma'am. Is self-study enough or coaching is necessary to crack the exam? What do you think?
I think self-study is more than enough, provided you are very dedicated, and provided you do not mess up your schedule. That is very important. Rest self-study is more than enough. I did coaching. I did Vajiram's coaching when I was in third year. But imagine, I don't even count it in my preparation year. I count from the time when I graduated from the college, and from that year's August, I'm calculating in my preparation year. So I feel like in my passing of this exam, Vajiram had no credit to itself, literally. So I consider it as a completely self-study thing, which I did because of the fact that I did not even refer to Vajiram notes once I graduated from college, and they were of no use. And in fact, coachings, they just touch like the surface of the ocean, and the syllabus of UPSC is so deep, they don't even teach you that much. So it's a very, I feel it personally, it's time waste. We are not having, it's not a coaching platform that I'm speaking on, so I can be completely honest with you. Otherwise it gets tricky to speak all of these things. But I would say it's a very honest opinion that a lot of time is wasted into coaching. You have to make friends there, you have to do the commute. So more than that you gain, you lose a lot in having a coaching. But having said that, you should use coaching resources judiciously, such as I used Vision's current affairs for my good, which I bought it and studied at home itself. Then test series I took for 3 coachings. I never went there. I evaluated myself at home only. There are these booklets which are widely available in Old Rajendra Nagar. So I used to buy those test booklets, and they have answer booklet also at the end. So I did give test of 3 coaching institutes. Insight on India is also a coaching, of which I took online help. Sleepy classes also coaching, I took online help. And so if you see, I did all of my preparation very economically. So even if it is said that many people ask me that they are not financially well off to do this exam, and they pre-assume that I must have given in a lot of money and a lot of resources to do this exam, but that's not true. I did it from all the free resources. So if I used all the free resources, and I used my own studying time and my own dedication. So you can also might do it in a very economical way. Just that you should be consistent. If you have a problem in being consistent, and if you cannot make a schedule and you cannot be strict with yourself, then I would suggest that take a coaching. And there's also second point. I think I'm very giving very long answers. Probably you all are very bored.
You are
But
loving it, ma'am.
second thing is, you should start studying. Supposedly you've read your static course once or twice, and then you can judge for yourself that maybe you are having problem in some particular subject. Supposedly you're having problem in geography, then you take geography specific coaching. Okay, so that will save your time, that will save your resources, and that would be way more beneficial to you. So Neetu Singh of geography is very effective, and she's a pioneer in geography. So you could take geography's class only, and not take like a whole foundation course which and ends up lands you into nothing. So that's my take on it.
Ma'am, what do you recommend? Continuing the job or further studies along with the preparation, or dropping years and wholeheartedly preparing for civil services examination? Ma'am, you're muted.
So sorry. So I was saying that it's not easy for everybody to sit at home, and there are responsibilities on each one's shoulder, economic responsibilities, household responsibilities. So it's fine. You can do it. You can crack it while doing job also, or while preparing simultaneously for uh, another field as well. And if you can take a drop, that is also good enough. I took a drop, 1 year drop. It worked for me because I wanted to give just one attempt with whole of my heart. So and I had the luxury to not work for a year. So but you can do it with job also. Just use your time judiciously. Make a schedule. If you can take out 3 to 4 hours of studying each day, and then you can crack it while juggling with the job. And apart from higher studies, if you're doing it, so sorry, if you're doing it from DU itself, like if you're doing masters from DU, I think that is very, very manageable, because as you all can see, DU does not demand too much of your time or energy. So you can juggle masters from DU and you can study for UPSC as well. And in a way, it's better if you do that, because of the uncertainty that is around UPSC, that whether you'd clear it or not, it is always good to have a backup.
Thank you, ma'am. Social media is good, but sometimes we get distracted. Nowadays, we cannot stay away from it as everything is available online. But with electronic gadgets comes the distraction. So, how to avoid that distraction?
I think you can totally avoid social media. I mean, that was what I did. I deleted all my accounts, and I stayed away from it, from all the social media, because it was all and out distraction for me. You can access all these online resources from Google, from your laptop, or from your iPad, or whatever. And I don't think so you need to be active on social media or Twitter to crack this exam at all. In fact, for 99% of the people, it serves as a distraction only. But if you do feel that it is a place where you can lent out and you can, feel relaxed, then there is no harm in keeping it. Just limit your time to half an hour a day, and just keep limited to that. And I would also say that it doesn't mean that you are preparing for civils that you cut off from everything. I mean, majorly you do have to cut off, but you can keep contact with your friends and family to keep yourself motivated and into the process.
With this, we are done with the questions, ma'am. If there is anything you would like to add, please do that.
I see that there were some people who were raising their hands. I think there was Tanya, who had raised her hand repeatedly. So if she wants to ask something. Devyansh wants to ask. Can we unmute him?
Ma'am, the host must be doing it.
Can the host unmute any of them?
It's just
Good evening, ma'am. This side Devansh, ma'am. My question to you is that uh, as you are coming from non-humanities background, so as I and a lot of us, so how do you tackle this challenge? I mean, coming from humanities background, how do you face this and prepare for the quant and reasoning aptitude? I mean, maybe they say that it is up to the class 10th level, but yes, it is difficult for a lot of humanities students. So how do you tackle that problem?
I presume that you're talking about CSAT. So CSAT is really easy. Do not fear. And I'm glad to hear that most of the people are from humanities background from here, because it's just adds to the pool of the people who are appearing for civils and who are from humanities. So it's very easy. I would suggest that you can take some papers and solve some questions yourself. Say like 5 to 10 years ke past year's question you solve, like do it over 2 weeks. I did that, and it was easy to crack. In fact, I would like to share that many people who were my friends, who were from engineering background, they could not clear CSAT, but I could clear. So you see, it does not matter, because there is English is also a very major part of it. So leverage your strength. Don't think that you are behind anybody just because we do not belong from science background, and 80 and 90% of the people are from science background. And we also hear rumors that IITians are getting selected. I think we should not get bogged down by it, but we should be even more inspired, as you all are from humanities. I can speak here with proud that it gives a thrill if we can defeat all the people from engineering or from science or from bio, and then emerge as winners. So take it as a challenge, and don't think that you are lesser than anybody else.
Okay. So all those who want to ask their questions, you may please post your questions in the chat box.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Kiran Sharma. Directly wants to ask you something like, on my behalf, I would like to read from the books. So can you please suggest some core books from which I can grasp the topics very clearly?
Hi, Kiran. You can read Polity from Lakshmikant. You should read Modern History from Spectrum. From Ancient History and Medieval History, you can do from Tamil Nadu NCRT 12th class. For economics, you can read Vivek Singh. I found his book relevant. Some people read Raman Singh also, so you may choose between the two. And for geography, you should read 11th, 12th class NCRT. They are more than enough. And you can also try Mrunal if you want to, if you do not feel that this is sufficient. But having done all of these things and a lot for geography, I have come to the point that in the end, 11th class, both the NCRTs are the bedrock for geography, and a lot of map work that stays. Rest, what subject is left? I think these are more or less major books that you need to cover.
Ma'am, the next question must have posted in the chat box.
For the preparation, should we consider only the notes or should we prepare by ourselves?
It depends. So for prelims, I did not do any note making. In fact, I did not pick up my pen also in the entire preparation, because I was very much comfortable reading from books and highlighting it. And then when I used to revise, I used to read the highlighted part. So it depends on on how easily you can remember stuff. So that's it. But for mains, I would suggest that you do a little note making, supposedly something you are grasping from a newspaper which you find relevant, which you can write in newspaper, some examples you can quote, etc. So you should maintain notes for that.
Ma'am, you may please read the questions from the chat box. They've posted their questions.
Are you asking me from there, or should I read it?
Ma'am, you have to read it.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so one of the question is that English in interview or in Hindi, how much it affects aspirants' marks? As is it good to give interview in Hindi despite of writing mains in English? So UPSC interview, they are very flexible, and if you are comfortable in giving in Hindi, then you might as well give in Hindi. They do not give penalty, or they do not penalize you for that. You can give it in Hindi. Good evening, ma'am. I want to know how to start the preparation for UPSC if you're a beginner. I think I answered this question already. Ma'am, from where we'd start writing practice? So yes, writing practice is very important, but I believe that DU at least trains us to do that. to write 5 pages, 6 pages for each and every answer. So, but you may do some answer writing before. Join a test series. That's the best way. Join any coaching test series. I joined Vision for writing for the writing practice, and it helped me. I also did from Insight. I did from Forum IAS, etc. So just join a test series. That's going to help you for answer writing. Some insights for essay. Best insight for mains, I think it's a jugaad way of mains, I don't know, but which is sure going to help each one of you is read toppers answer sheets. Honestly, that's the easiest way we can do and the most effective way we can take. So there are a lot of toppers answer sheets which are widely available in Rajneet Nagar, and there are online resources also freely available. So just access them and you're going to understand what has worked for them, you know, what is expected out of a question, how are people writing. तो वो जो monster हम अपने दिमाग में बना लेते हैं ना of UPSC, that also derails to a point because we come to know that they're also humans, those who are topping the exam, those who are clearing the exam, and their answers are also basic. And so you also have to appear and you also have to just write that much. For essay also, I would also suggest the same. Read as many essays as possible of these of the toppers and of all the aspirants who have cleared UPSC, and maintain a notebook which has some catchy lines, catchy phrases, and good starting points, etc. And try to build a story while writing essay, and you should at least write 12 to 13 essays before appearing for the exam. Approach for ethics. Approach for ethics would be that you become an ethical person, because in those 3 hours the true personality of just appears itself on the paper. So if you are an ethical person, you would definitely write good ethics paper. In fact, I would like to share that my GS3 paper, I felt like I did a disaster, but that's how the nature of exam is, right? So I cried for the 2 hours that I got before writing the ethics paper. So 12 to 2 I was crying because I thought that my GS3 paper went as a disaster. But then I realized after seeing marks कि सबका ही disaster गया था, and in fact मेरा थोड़ा ठीक disaster था. So but those 2 hours I cried and my eyes were all so red, and I was in no mood to write ethics paper, which was from 2 o'clock. But I went upstairs and I had to appear for the exam. So I felt like, you know, I will just give out all my morals that I have. And you would be surprised that in every question, there was a feminist side of myself which was coming up. So what you are originally, it does come up in your ethics paper. So be an ethical person so that you can sail through it. How many pages of a book in a day you can cover? That's I don't remember how many pages of books. Okay. Interview experience, honestly, it's good. You should not feel कि कौन लोग हमारा इंटरव्यू ले रहे होंगे and हम तो बिल्कुल बच्चे हैं, मतलब that I used to feel for myself that I'm just 23-year-old and just out of college with no work experience, etc. And will they grill me? But they're very cordial people, very warm people. You just have to be confident, carry a smile. If you don't know the answer to something, just politely decline. They don't take offense of that. Just don't try to, you know, offend somebody. Then you will definitely lose marks. And don't say something which is like completely politically incorrect. Like don't say to a if there is a madam in the panel, which normally there is at least one lady, so don't say something like, you know, women have no space or anything which can offend a woman. Don't put yourself into crossfire with the panel. Try to agree with the panel as much as you can, and just show yourself as a ethical, as an empathetic person, and as the person who's really driven towards civil services. The people from background other than humanities, how should they start, as their basics are not that much strong? Should they read NCERT books? So many of my humanities friends who are here attending the session will say to you that humanities ka background is also not strong. तो आप ये मत सोचो that humanities वाले social science में कोई expert है. We also don't know anything. So you are on the same page. And if we are not starting from NCERT, then you also don't start from NCERT. Ma'am, how to choose between defense versus civil services? That should be a personal call, because defense, there is a different set of job profile for you, equally respected, equally respectable, but and civil services, there's a different job profile. So you should choose between that, on what job profile inside entertains you and you like it better. How to do college with UPSC, and in which year we have to start. You can start from first year, as I said. Try to build a rapport with the current affairs and the current issues. That is for first year. Second year में आप static books start कर दो and revision start कर दो. Third year में static books, revision and test series start कर दो. And you should just appear after college if you are prepared. And if you're in third year, then take a drop. There's no harm. Ma'am, can you tell which coaching institute can we consider as best if we could not focus on self-preparation? Vajiram to mat jana, self-experience se bol rahi hu. But you can choose Vision, I find is good. But I don't know, really. Shubhra Ranjan is also good. That's what I've heard for GS, for general studies also. How to be consistent while preparing for UPSC? Make it your driving force. Just remember that we are also young, okay? हमारे पास कुछ और अच्छा तो है नहीं अभी काम करने को, तो क्या ही जा रहे हैं अगर पढ़ाई कर ले तो. You should feel driven towards it, and you should, all of these distractions such as friend की party वगैरह, ये सब, these are very petty in front of what you want to become. So remember that your goal is higher, that it is bigger than these small issues or small distractions that you're facing today. Oh, there is Tina Khubchandani, who was also in Sofia. Very glad to hear that, Tina. Sometimes I have these phases where I lose motivation. Don't feel that you are the only one who has this. Everybody has this, especially when you look at the numbers, that so many people are appearing for this exam. How is it that I am going to be the one who gets selected? But you need to have faith in yourself. You should look at the stats. You should look at the probability of getting selected. But all of this you should do before making up your mind for preparing for civils. Once you have made up your mind that you want to do it, फिर तो you should feel like, hell or break, you are going to make it to the civil services. And I feel like you should remember this quote from Winston Churchill, that there is no possibility of defeat. एटलीस्ट जब तक हारो नहीं तब तक तो ये सोचना चाहिए. फेल हो गए तो अलग बात है. हाँ, one more question, as humanities is theoretical subject, so how we decide are optional? Optional के लिए I think 3 things are very important. Firstly, what is your interest? Does it because you have to give a lot of time to your optional, so you should have interest into your optional. Second, uska course kitna bada hai, aisa nahi ho that you take an optional which takes years to complete. You don't have years, okay, in your hand. So take an optional in which you can complete course by 3 to 4 months maximum, and jiske sources decided ho that these are the sources that you need to cover. So these 3 pointers, keeping these 3 pointers, you can choose any optional. Any suggestion for the book readings apart from UPSC? I think it's very important for this session because all of you are in college and most of you would just want to leisurely read sometime. So some of the books which I liked were Bipin Chandra's India Before Independence, right? India Before Independence is good. Then second, Nandan Nilekani's book Reimagining India, that's also good. And rest such novel kind, I'll have to think. You should stay connected to me on Instagram, but I will not suggest Instagram to you, sorry. You should not be on Instagram. Ma'am, genuinely asking, how do we know that we have been made for UPSC or not, that we are really capable or not? What qualities clarify that we are made for CSE? How to answer to ourselves why I want to be an IS officer? What should be in our mind? Very good question. Well, I think everybody is made for UPSC. UPSC is not that big of monster. You should feel, are you different towards UPSC or not? That should be your question. You are all capable of clearing an exam. Exam does not define you. It will never define you. It can never define. Any exam cannot define you. But you should feel that, do you want to do it or you don't want to do it? And for that, you should read the job profile. It's not just there are 22 services, there are all great services, you get a very comfortable life, you have a secured job, and you are the face of the government, you are the government who is talking and walking and doing and helping people. So if all of these things motivate you, they drive you, then you should definitely go for civil services. How to make notes for your newspaper? Don't make notes from newspaper. It's time waste. Yes, Ruchi, you want to say something?
Okay, ma'am, I was saying that because since UPSC is a topic on which we could talk for hours, but we have some time restrictions now, so I would like you to conclude.
I think it was great interacting with all of you and answering all your questions. I am absolutely approachable, very approachable on Instagram and Twitter. And just shoot me up with all your questions. But most importantly, have faith into yourself. And you are a part of Disha Society of a great reputed college such as Shivaji. So don't lose faith into yourself and keep studying. Keep thinking high for yourself. If not civils, then something else, but just keep thinking high of yourself. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for this astounding session, ma'am. And I'm sure everyone has been guided with a very good guiding light and for having such a good mentor here. And thank you so much, guys, for being such patient listeners. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.